Hello, everybody. Welcome to Shame to Shine. I am very excited to have Cassaundra Paolini with us today. She is a soul coach, healer, and energy worker, and has been doing this work for a long time. And we were just chatting about how work has really transformed onto the camera. So we're excited to connect with you through this medium. And Cassandra has a lovely pieces to share today. So thank you for being on. And I want to open it up to you to start out with what you're really wanting to share with the audience today.
Firstly, thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor. And one of the things that came to mind when we talked about from shame to shine was ultimately what has gone on for women. And not just here and right now, and even in this lifetime, but what has gone on for millennia, or even since the dawn of time. We talk about shame. Well, there's a little thing that happened, from the dawn of time, where women were shamed for being just a woman, shamed of their womanhood, shamed of their sexuality, shame of even being just female, made to feel less than what we are. And while we've carried that over and we think we've advanced so much, and I suppose if we were to compare it to the marks of history, we have advanced, but we're still far, far, far from our mark. We have something inside of us called our divine feminine energy, our glorious divine feminine energy. And we were shamed down, we were brought down from that because of its potential, infinite potential. So, for myself personally, having a deep connection to this, and for multiple reasons, aside from shaming women for millennia, my personal experiences, yes, in this lifetime and in others, which bring us to the shame which covers in every area of our body. But I want to speak to the whole female existence because for centuries our light has been dimmed. And quite honestly, they tried to snuff it right out. And there's a reason for that. Because of the awesome potential we have, it yields power.
Yeah.
And yes, it does mean that we can also use that power, not necessarily for good or to power over others. And it's because of its pure potential, its strength, that it had to, I want to say, be taken away from us. Whether we agree to it within these contracts or not, it is aside from the point. We're here and we're here right now. So we as women born into these lives, into whatever incarnations we are around the world, are indoctrinated to carry the shame of our womanhood
Mhm.
just for being female and every aspect of our being, our sexuality, um, my goodness, our intelligence.
Mhm.
How women were thought to be hysterical. They can't even vote or they can't do anything serious. How we're shamed into our feelings. Oh, she's overreactive, or she's menopausal, or she's hormonal, belittling us in every possible way. And then, of course, body shaming. And the shocking thing is, I mean, we think body shaming is part of our culture now. Oh, no, 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 no. Body shaming started centuries ago for women. And so
Really?
that could also end up with body dysmorphia. We end up in our whole world, whether it was modern or the past, we have this rampant excerpt that comes into every aspect of our being to make us feel less than we are, to make us believe we're less than we are, and ultimately to act and react less than we are, to keep us down, and ultimately to keep us controlled.
Mhm.
Now, how can I put this? Even pleasure, to experience pleasure, is is well, in some cultures, even that spot and that idea is taken away from women. It's truly a crime that's still being perpetrated today. But that we're afraid to be sexual beings. We're afraid of our own sexuality. So the feminine energy itself, which has been imprisoned for far back as the history books go, and has been crying for us. to break free so it can shine. So we as women must understand to why we were hijacked, to the level that this was done, and how to change it, shift it within ourselves. So I'm going to bring this to myself personally as what it is that our original divine perfection that's within each of us. It's also in our womb. A lot of divine goddess and divine feminine energy sits in our womb. And that's whether you have your womb or not. Your womb energetically will be there for your entire life as a female. And we need to be in our physical bodies as well as in our energetic bodies and make peace with it. So, loving ourselves unconditionally is a huge part of that. Embracing who and what we are now and what we've always been, and making peace with all lives that we've had and all encounters and all experiences that we've had. So when we can do this, when we can turn ourselves back into love, acceptance, and just finding that calm and that peace, also our pure divine connection, something magical happens. We return to our divine feminine magic. And that's the glory of it. Our potential, which is unimaginable, and we're only just beginning to tap into that. I mean, because the true potential of us, we are the creatress. And that is the thing that dreams and fantasies are made of. So, what does that say to us who we are? Well, our divine feminine energy itself, just as a whole, is the high, well, we're going to say it is the highest frequency,
Mm.
at least so long as we are here for these corporal forms. And when we talk about that love, well, loving, pure love, that pure unconditional love, that divine love, is a feminine frequency, not a masculine frequency. And so when we get into our pure divine feminine energy, it helps unleash, yes, the sexual energy and the goddess energy. And so many people think sexual energy as literally just sex.
Right.
It's not that. We have sexual energy and that divinity of the sexual energy, which serves so many more purposes. When we talk about also that of the male aspect, they were also hijacked,
Mhm.
not just the women.
Mhm.
And the reason why the male sexual energy had to be hijacked as well, for two reasons. One, because it helps control them as well, so that they give up or have their own power taken away as well. But also, how is it possible if a balanced man would mistreat a balanced woman? It wouldn't happen. So the men had to be brought into imbalance. Their sexual energy had to be hijacked and distorted to what we've seen for the men across the globe for all eternity, more the animal instinct. And I use that tenderly because I love animals and I don't think of us as about them, but to animal instinct or to carnal instinct. And that means that the respect and the honoring of the woman gets taken away. That perpetuates the cycle of how we then are treated, how we feel about ourselves, the shame that we still bring into ourselves in every aspect of our life. So if we can bring balance, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, but the divine feminine energy for us so much back to our lives, it allows us to find our centers again, to love ourselves again. And when we are truly connected and we are truly there, you don't need forgiveness. But we're saying this as our prelude, precursor, because now we talk about, well, who am I to talk about this, the divine feminine, the shame, and what it is that we carry? Well, I'll tell you a story. And that story goes back to my own childhood, not just my childhood, but it goes back into my mother's, it goes back into the ancestors that come before that. That's from my grandmother, as well as those who I don't even know, and the history, even from timelines, not just in the multiverse itself of my lifetime here, but in the past lives that I've lived. And that is how we were treated, how we were abused, if you want to use that word, when we talk about being abused as a child, being abused as a little girl, even little boys, when we think about what does that mean for that child who experiences it? And these experiences go back to age 2. So it has two aspects from it, with what will bring you into the shame aspect. Firstly, a 2-year-old has no idea what's going on. Neither does a 3-year-old, neither does a 4-year-old. 5-year-old might start to have some ideas. But in that, they only know that it's uncomfortable. They only know that they don't like something. They only know that something doesn't feel right. And in some cases, which also happened for myself, a complete blackout of the memory. It's gone, vanished, because you don't want to remember that. And we'll just bring that in a little bit. So for myself personally, I happened to have an archangel that came in, organized with my divine self, and they pulled out those memories and popped them over to the side. And I've never regained them. And I don't want to, I don't need to. You don't need to remember what happened to heal that energy and to get rid of it. So just remember that. You don't need
Can I
to
ask
be
you a question?
traumatized. Yes.
I'm curious about this relationship between how you've brought up that women have had their divine feminine shamed for the past thousands of years, and how you're really tapped into that. And then you also had this experience as a young
Which
child,
should have
2-year-old.
completely deleted it. Yeah.
Yeah. And are those connected where
Well,
your
they
childhood
are.
experience? Okay, yes. Yes. Well,
Because
keep going. Hmm.
no, 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 absolutely. My child self came into this world. I know because I have memories that do go back to 2, which is why I know that that memory's not coming back. Um, but my little girl self that remembered before,
Okay.
that little girl self who also remembered the divine being,
Yeah.
and she remembered what we were, and
Yeah.
so she was very, very confused in this world for eternity, actually. It's like that confusion never stopped because the world never made sense to it, and how we lived and how we were treated and how people were treated, human beings. It's why I studied psychology. It was like human behavioral studies were so fascinating to me because I just couldn't understand the concept of why people were the way that they were.
Yeah.
But also understanding the full psychology of our nature and history.
Mhm.
And also, it seems our complete inability to learn from history and to not perpetrate it and perpetuate it again today. So, as I'm looking at all this, I was, how can I put this? I was this little warrior,
Yeah.
but my divine self knew exactly what it was going to, I'll say, do to me. Not, but I want to do that in the softest, lightest terms possible.
Yeah.
And that was, I knew that I had to be knocked off my pedestal. When you remember that you are like a god, when you remember all of your power, when you remember that your divinity, you need to come down a lot.
Mhm.
But you're also here to have this human experience.
Mhm.
And I know because I chose to be born into the family that I was born into, that this was already divinely organized,
Mm.
which means I have a reason. And two things. One, because what had happened, so the characters of the people and all the people who play the parts that they do in the story of our lives are a product of exactly what it is I've talked about, the imbalance of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, this perpetuated behavior of abusing women.
Mhm.
And that includes abusing children,
Yeah.
just abusing the feminine
Mm.
and making them only the objects of that which it is someone else who's also very imbalanced and needs
Mhm.
to find their divinity
Mhm.
only knows how to do. And
Mm.
so this little girl, while she experienced these things and had some, it's also about how you take it on things, because then we also have free will. And that little girl could have taken it like her divine self and understood what was happening and what was going on. But instead, she didn't. She kind of went inward.
Mm,
And so it led her to being very, like, feeling absolutely zero self worth.
mm,
That's important.
mm,
Um, Abuse to the lower chakras takes away your value. The fact that you weren't protected, you also feel abandoned. You weren't protected. You're no longer safe. It's just everything comes into question, and that's the ground. What did I do to deserve this? Not that you understand the full concept of it, you just knew something wasn't right.
right.
You also understood as you may have gotten older that there's something wrong. You're already in that energy, and all of a sudden, now this is what you keep bringing into you.
Yeah.
I, for myself personally, I also look back on it, and I think it was, well, first it was when I started getting into Tantra and understanding sexual energy that I started relaxing a lot more on my own sexuality, my own sexual energy, and anything that might have happened in the past.
Okay.
But it was when I started working with people
Mhm,
and seeing what had happened also to them, also
mhm,
being shocked by how rampant sexual abuse is
mhm,
in North America, but all over the world. And being able to see it, recognize it, and unlock something for that person.
mm,
For those that are very ashamed and afraid, there are also those who don't remember as well. You always have to be careful when you tread in that area. And but for those who think that they're all alone and it only happened to them because that's what every single one of that's what every child's going to think.
mhm,
And so that's still what people think, adults think.
mhm,
And they have to realize that they're not alone in this, that someone really does understand them, that they really see them, and that they're there for them, not just to help them, but to love them and to get them through this, to change and shift that energy. And I found that being able to draw on my experience, but also to share it. Because if you, it's the same way if you're going to someone for help, a fitness instructor. You wouldn't go to a fitness instructor who didn't look like they were fit. You
right.
would go to a fitness instructor who looked fit because that's the objective that you want. That's your goal. When you go for help with respect to therapy, and especially when we're talking about that type of abuse, while you would hope that the therapist had everything resolved, but you also want someone who understands you.
Mhm,
And I think that's something that a lot of people don't have. It's like when I tell people I'm not probably not the best person to help someone for addiction. You probably want someone who is actually has had victory over their addictions because then they have a blueprint to help you through that. Well, I have a blueprint to help someone through that type of abuse.
mm,
And I also have something that, well, I had someone who was looking at me thinking, oh, but you're so perfect. You're so happy. You're so, you couldn't possibly understand what happened to me and I can't share it with you. And I just had to look at them actually while they were on the treatment table. I was like, you really, and I didn't want to say it in the words that I said it, but I said it in the way that they would understand it best. I was like, I was sexually abused too, right?
huh,
And that just shifted the energy right in front of me. It was just like, wow. And he opened right up. I
yeah.
was like, okay, good, good. And that's exactly it. And it's happened for women as well.
Yeah.
But it's understanding that what happened to me was something that, firstly, was going to be a key to helping me unlock myself later.
Mm,
And also to be able to help others. So now we get back into, okay, well, what does that mean?
yeah.
Well, I chose to be born into that. And I also understand that all the human players who had their roles, including my mother, including the others, it's like that they're all human and having their own experiences and their own issues and their own free will and. It's like, oh, got it. And They are okay. So this is where I said, now forgiveness isn't necessary. Understanding, compassion,
Hmm.
and then acceptance.
Yeah.
I chose that. Why would I have chosen them? Well, I've seen parts of it reflect in my life already, which has been benefit for not only the work that I do, but also giving me this strong foundation within me and saying to myself, well, you know what? That is actually not just a product of the choosing family I was born into, but that is a product of literally centuries of how women and children have been treated. And that obviously needs to change, has to change, must change, will change. But that change that we want to see in the world, it has to be with us. And I was like, okay, I step up to the plate. I'm willing to step up to the plate for this. And then it's like loving it, loving every part of it. It's not, it's like I love all the experiences I had as they brought me here to this person today. And when you can just say to love humanity, all parts of it, all aspects of it, because in loving humanity, you're actually able to love yourself even more. Just no separation, no distinctions, just love that goes around. And so our divine feminine energy then starts to come back, starts to awaken, it starts to blossom and grow. And some magical things can happen, not just in your own personal sexual energy and experiences, your ability to orgasm, your ability to love, love unconditionally, love without putting parameters of it, love without expecting anything in return, because you're just like, I'm free to do this. I mean, real love. Sexual part was put out there. I mean, really love, loving from your heart, loving wholeheartedly, opening up and allowing that energy in to experience it like in childlike wonder again. The purity of it, the excitement of it, the energy of it, and no condition attached to it. And then to allow that love to go freely, and you put it into everything that you do, everywhere you go, and you let that like sort of trailblaze in front of you, that you can not just walk through it and share it with others. So when we start to say, okay, not only did I have an understanding and compassion, but then my acceptance, my honoring and respecting of it, and ultimately that led me to just, oh, that's how it's supposed to be. I'm all right with it. When you now come into a place where it's like you have this book that you're reading and that book comes alive and you understand your whole childhood, you understand your life, you understand your experiences, you understand all the roles that everyone played in it. And that right here, right now, it's like every little step along the way, not necessarily the ones that you did from free will choices you made after the fact of what you brought in from your energy if you had a low dip. I mean, the foundation, the core, that is truly where you are. Now, I like
It's
to
so
say,
gorgeous because I'm hearing this beautiful thread of your whole life of going from not just your experience, but also this feminine experience of being shamed. And it sounds like this turning point was the understanding that once you said like, okay, forgiveness, kind of, but it was really understanding and compassion. So it wasn't, oh, this wasn't my fault because I understand the part that everyone else was playing. And I feel like you said it, but just for my own clarity and for audience members, when that understanding happened, do you feel like that energy that was shameful then was mobilized into being your source of compassion for other people and source of
oh,
love for
yes,
other people?
absolutely. I mean, how can I put this? Um, that's understanding someone who struggles with addiction. If I'm able to just say, well, just stop.
Hmm.
That doesn't make me the most empathetic person.
Right.
Having this experience makes me truly be able to be compassionate for all who experience that.
Mm.
And I don't know, it's like, it's this beacon. I want to be that beacon also, that beacon, that light, because I know how to also move that energy. It doesn't have to stay stuck there. I also know how to move it up here
Uh-huh.
and to move it in the child self,
Ooh,
because you've got to take care of everything. There's so many different layers. And having done my own child regressive therapy and being able to see it from a completely different perspective,
yeah.
we forget that we're sometimes trapped back there. And so when you get that child self to look at it from your point of view now, but
Mm.
also because I was fortunately the child who I was, go back, remember your divine self, remember what you knew, what you knew, and go back to her and look at it. It's like you were connected, you were all knowing, all seeing. Pull from that energy and now pull from here. See what I see. And you're just it's like it transform. I've literally had, for people as well, for clients as well, but the energy that just shifts
Yeah.
and you just feel it's almost like this huge tornado of energy just happened inside of you and inside the room. It's like boom, it just can be as simple as a realization to transform that energy, as
And what
simple
does
as a
it turn
different
into?
perspective.
What does the energy turn into when it transforms for clients?
It how can I put that? One A lot of people will say to healing, it transforms into non-existence. It
Wow.
rewrites the cellular memory
Yeah.
because now it no longer exists for you. That energy is no longer there. And I like to tell myself as well as people, when you reflect back on it for the memories that you have, look at it like as if it were a dream, or because like dreams aren't real, they can't touch you, or like a film you had seen that you just happened to play a role in. Oh, look at me over there acting that part.
Mm.
So that way, it is no longer, that way you're not bringing it back into your energy to have to re-deal with it again. It's like, just keep that exactly where it is. That transformation of that energy, that shift, it clears it. It's like it never existed to begin with. And that little part, poof, gone. Gone from your energy, gone from your collective, gone from the story that is you, gone from whatever organs it might have been resting in that might have come up later to cause dis-ease or disharmony. And those are the things that you have to pay attention to. I happened to have had things that have occurred, which brought me back to reflections of, okay, what's going on here? What do I need to do? What do I need to heal?
This is such gorgeous work, and I imagine that there are people who are really resonating. And so, if there are those that want to keep in touch with you or work with you further, tell us a little bit about your services and where you're active online that people can stay in touch with you.
Well, I am active also on YouTube. You can find me under my name, Cassaundra Paolini. And I do classes, meditations, etc. on Learn It Live. I've got a forum on there, so a profile page on there. If we were to start going, obviously my website for right now, it's www.divineenergyhealing.ca. I've also got myself on Google Sites. You'll just find that Google Sites under Cassaundra Paolini. Um, and I did want to share one thing aside from, what it is we do privately, one-on-one. There is something that we've been called to do just recently, and that we're going to hopefully keep on doing, and that it'll have the opportunity to grow and with momentum. That is while we're shining, while we are getting brighter, while we are figuring it out inside of ourselves, and we're remembering who we are and why it is that we're here. There's work for us to do. Whether you're a light worker, whether you're a healer, whether you're a shaman, whether you're an energy intuitive, or whatever it is. And that is, I'm bringing people together right now and getting together to do light work, getting together to do healing work. Um, had a couple of classes already go on for September, got a couple more classes for October, and we're just going to keep going forward like that. And the idea is that by ourselves, we shine our light, and it's a beautiful thing. And we have our own power and our own gift, and we can anchor that, and we can share it, and we can ignite it in others. And now let the two of us come together. It multiplies, not by two, it multiplies by hundreds.
Mm,
Let's let a group of us come together. Now all of a sudden there's an explosion of energy. Let those groups grow. We have the ability within our energy, with our intention, and what it is that we choose to do, what we're guided to do, what we share in, to transform, not just gifts for ourselves, because in both of those sessions, the divine came through. Mother Earth was one of them. Africa, actually, Mother Africa came through on one of them. And they gifted us healing. They gifted us something special while we were doing this work selflessly
mm,
with unconditional love.
mm,
And just like to just keep moving forward like that.
mm.
So that for me is something that I was pushed to do. And they're like, well, get on that because it is part of the work that I'm meant to do.
Beautiful. We'll include all of those links for those that want to find your work and those who identify as light workers or healers and want to join this collective because you're so right. Being in groups like that exponentially multiplies what's possible and helps us remember because even when we remember our own power, if we're in it alone, there are those dips and there are still external forces pushing on us. So being in those supportive group environments can help us sustain at our low points. So I
It
thank you
really can.
for hosting
Absolutely.
that. Hmm. Hmm. What gorgeous work you're doing. I am so grateful for your time and sharing. I feel like we could have talked and I could have listened for another 2 hours. So we'll have to do a part two at some point and hear more of your story. And I just am very grateful to you for sharing so generously. Thank you.
And I'm very grateful to you. But I also have to say, as I'm seeing you here, is how beautiful you are and how beautiful your light is and how it just emanates from the screen. So thank you so much. It's been wonderful to also be in your presence.